I did not think this was possible. Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Strong Female Athlete Podcast. I have such a fun one for you today because it will give you so much hope, so much inspiration that improving speed is so possible. Even as female athletes continue to get older and go throughout their career, speed is such an amazing journey, and it's one that they need to stick to for the long run. I know a lot of you have been tuning in and hearing my journey right now, competing with Team USA Masters Track, and I have my meet for the 60 meter in about 3 weeks now, and I'm getting so excited. I don't really know what to expect. I'm a little bit nervous because I haven't run a track meet since high school, which was a total disaster. And I had no clue how to accelerate from the starting blocks. I had to use someone else's spikes at my first meet because I didn't bring my own. Like, it was this whole thing. But I'm excited to get back into the track world because I love speed. I love training to be fast. I love training my athletes to be fast, whether it's in Tampa or remotely. I get so excited about speed because I have seen amazing things happen with my own athletes, with myself in making drastic speed improvements. And I'm going to give you my top 3 for my personal journey. But a lot of these I preach to my girls. I preach on this podcast all the time, over and over again. I have top 3 things that have got me faster in my 30s than when I was a college soccer All-American. And yes, I'm much faster in my 30s than when I was in my 20s. And this is insane. So please stick around to the end because the last one is probably the most important message you are going to hear. So stick around. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button below because you will get updated on my most recent podcast episodes for everything female athlete performance training and health. So thank you so much for joining today, and let's get into the episode. So before I get into the top 3 tips on how I've improved speed in my 30s and I'm running faster than ever than when I was a young athlete, I am still having a little bit of trouble finding a track in the Tampa area. Florida is actually insane with how they fence and lock up their high school tracks during the school day. Like, there is no public track open for anyone to work out. So here I am doing my sprints and my training for the past several months for this meet on my street, in my neighborhood, on the soccer field in my neighborhood. I'm doing the best I can to make it work. But update, I almost found a track a few weeks ago, but I show up to the field and it's not a real track surface. Yes, they have the lanes and the lines and the measurements, but it's made out of freaking concrete. And I'm like, this is not a real track. I need to break in my spikes. I need to be on a bouncy surface and get used to it and get accurate times on that surface. So it's just been this whole thing, but there is no excuse. I'm going to continue to search for one and find one because I got 3 weeks, baby. I got 3 weeks to prepare for this thing. And actually, my most recent update is I found a high school with a real track with the actual track surface, and they are only open for me to run from 3:15 to 4 p.m. So I have a 45-minute window to get my workout done, but that actually works because, as I've talked on this podcast before, speed workouts are short in duration, but high in intensity. So we're going to get into that because that is the first thing that I have changed with my speed training from when I was a young athlete. I have moved away from ladder drills. I have moved away from using all these gadgets and gizmos, and I don't really use a whole lot of equipment. So my number one thing is I have first and foremost changed my speed training to be for true speed development. So within my workouts, I am warming up with mechanics drills and I'm cleaning up my arms, how my posture is, how my foot is striking the ground. So I'm doing various marching and skipping drills, A skips, B skips, all those traditional track drills and really cleaning up my form. And then after my warm up, I move into my jumps and hops. So I'm doing jumps and hops so I can really work on my explosiveness and recruit fast twitch muscle fibers. And I'm doing these hops for only about 6 seconds or less and making sure that I'm staying twitchy and I'm not slowing down. And I think that's one big mistake I made as a young athlete just because I didn't know. I didn't do a lot of this explosive work. I would do plyometrics for minutes on end, which defeats the purpose of plyometrics because once you start to go beyond 10, 15 seconds, that's when you start to really slow down and you're becoming more slow twitch and the intensity of the drill is not as good, the quality is not as good. So now I keep my plyometrics short, sweet, and intense. Another thing I do differently now is I actually sprint and time the sprints. I did run a lot of sprints when I was young, but I didn't time them and I didn't track my improvements enough. And now that I track my improvements all the time, I can see a large data set of numbers and see, okay, am I improving from day one to several weeks later to several months later? And if you don't track your speed, it's really hard to understand where you are. Now, I will say if you have an athlete who is younger than age 12, you don't need to get all wild with tracking data and using timing systems yet because they're still growing. Speed training should just be fun for these ages. And I'll actually leave a link in the caption below on speed training for under 12s and how it should be fun and not so data driven quite yet. I mean, they have plenty of time in high school and college. And if they decide to be a master's athlete like me, they have plenty of time to still time their sprints. So I time my sprints. I use the Freelap timing system, which is one of my favorite technologies. It's so easy to set up. It's literally just two timing cones, a start cone and a finish cone. And then you have this small Bluetooth chip that you wear on your waistband, and it gets your exact time when you cross the start cone and when you cross the finish cone. It gets your time to the millisecond, and I'm able to convert my 10-meter flies to my mile per hour number. I'm really happy that I'm running above an 18 mile per hour in my 30s, which is insane because I never would have imagined I could improve speed this much. Now it makes so much sense because when you give your body the right inputs, when you give your body those explosive inputs from short duration plyometrics and all out time sprints and making sure you're recovering long in between sets so that every set is of quality and great intensity, that's when your body can continue to improve speed and you can continue to raise the ceiling on your mile per hour number. So I really implore you to train your jumps, train your mechanics, time your sprints, run all out sprints, and make sure that your body is getting the correct inputs. So that's number one. I've changed my training completely. And I did do all out sprints when I was younger and that helped, but I definitely could have timed more during high school. I could have cleaned up my mechanics a little bit more during high school and college. And I also could have been doing just better quality plyometrics and not these long plyometric circuits where you're hopping for minutes on end and slowing down and you're not even getting an explosive benefit from those drills. So those are the big things I've really changed with my speed training. Number two, this is probably the most drastic change I've made since I was younger is my nutrition. Oh my gosh, I messed up my nutrition when I was young. And when you're in high school and college, you can get away with crappy nutrition for a while because you're young and everything's all fine and dandy, and you can hit up the Chick-fil-A and get a milkshake with a side of 12-piece nuggets and fries, and that's what I did. But now I can't get away with that as much. I would do Chick-fil-A and fast food all the time and have fried food and high sugary foods and ultra processed foods. And I just can't get away with that anymore. I'm okay with that because when I've reduced ultra processed foods much more than when I was a young athlete, now I just feel great pretty much all the time. I have high energy. My brain is sharp. I feel creative. I have sustained energy throughout the day. I sleep beautifully. And as we know, sleep is part of recovery. And if you're not rested, then you can't even get a benefit from your speed workout. So my nutrition has helped with that. Another thing I've done is I've really upped my protein intake, and I was actually very protein deficient when I was young. I've always loved eating meat like steak and chicken, also seafood as well. But I never felt I had enough of it. I had too many ultra processed foods, and then the cost of that was I wasn't getting enough protein in. So I've definitely upped my protein. And not only have I seen the changes in just my body composition and building more muscle, building more lean muscle mass, I've also seen changes in how fast I recover. And I'm hardly sore. And if I am sore after a tougher workout, it only lasts for a day and then I'm like back at it. So my ability to recover has improved a lot from upping my protein. I've also specifically upped my red meat consumption. So I eat a lot of ground beef and steak just because I get B vitamins, I get iron, I get creatine. And yes, I don't need to take a creatine supplement all the time because I get it from red meat. And that creatine really helps with being able to be explosive in your workouts and to have high quality speed sessions, especially during those plyometric and time sprint drills. You want to make sure you're getting the most out of them, and nutrition absolutely plays a role. So I've been getting a lot of creatine from red meat. And another thing that I've done differently since when I was a college All American, and look, when you're on a college soccer team, you are going out a lot, you might be drinking too much alcohol. And I look back and I'm like, how did I get away with doing all that and still performing at a very high level? It's really crazy to think about. But I also am like, well, how much better could I have performed if I didn't do that? And how much better could I have felt during the rigor of college classes? I mean, I was pretty fatigued a lot during the school day, and I also was not sleeping well in college. And I definitely blame alcohol on that. So now I've significantly reduced alcohol. I hardly drink anymore. I might, if we go to someone else's wedding, I might have like a glass of champagne for the toast, but that's really it. I might have something going when I go to brunch with friends, but other than that, I don't really drink. I like to be hydrated. I like to be energized. I like to feel good. I like to get my beauty sleep, and alcohol really affects my sleep, especially wine. I can't remember the last time I had a glass of wine. I really can't, because I know that if I have a glass of wine at dinner, I will get the most broken sleep ever. So I just avoid it altogether. Another thing I've changed in my nutrition is I embrace healthy fats more. And I grew up drinking skim milk, non fat cheese, and all that BS. And now I really embrace fats because in order to absorb fat soluble vitamins like vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin E, you have to have healthy fats in your diet. So now I embrace whole milk, and honestly, it tastes a lot better than skim milk. So I really enjoy it. I embrace having full fat cheese. I embrace having a lot of coconut oils and avocados, and also fatty fish. I love my salmon. I love my oysters. I love my shrimp. I also cook a lot of my food in butter as well, because then you also get the vitamin D and K and E. So it's just been so nice to add those fats back in. And I also think adding those fats back in has helped with my brain function, my overall energy, because your brain is made up of fat. So it's kept me really sharp for workouts. It's also helped really calm my hormones, and I feel a lot better in terms of my menstrual cycle symptoms. And I think it's because those healthy fats really help reduce inflammation in the body. And I finally have periods that aren't painful anymore. So that's always a plus, because you don't really want to skip training during certain times of the month. You want to keep up with the program, you want to keep progressing. So, like for me, taking a week off because of period problems is not an option. My only option is to be proactive and front end it, have healthy fats, have healthy protein, and just make sure I'm getting the nutrients my body needs to thrive so my hormones aren't so crazy, so I don't have really negative symptoms. So that's been such a huge change, and I'm so grateful for that, because I want to share this message with female athletes who feel like victims to their period symptoms, and who feel like they are helpless and they can't solve these symptoms. But I'm telling you, you can. You absolutely can with proper nutrition. Another thing I've done is I now choose carbohydrates that I digest well. And just a little backstory on this, I do have an autoimmune disease called vitiligo. It's when you don't get enough pigment in your skin. I actually have it on my arm here and then a little bit on my chest. And vitiligo is also related to GI issues as well. And I've always struggled with GI issues. A lot of the problem I found was grains and breads and certain carbohydrates that just didn't sit well in my stomach. And now I've discovered the ones that work best for me are more nature's carbohydrates, like cooking my own fries with sweet potatoes or colored potatoes or golden potatoes. And I also have a lot of fruits. I love my blueberries. I love cherries. I love tart cherry juice for recovery. I also really love raw honey as well. So I've been really opting for carbohydrates that help my GI because there's nothing worse for performance, especially on game day or at a track meet, when you have an upset stomach and your food isn't digested or you feel bloated or you feel constipated. That's not fun. And I don't want to deal with that anymore. So that's also been a huge change. And of course, not everyone listening here is autoimmune. So some people might be okay with breads and sandwiches and grains. So if it works for you, do you. But for my specific case, it just doesn't work for me. So I've stopped those altogether. And my theory is for at least myself, no grains, no pain. So, but again, you got to do what works for you. And the last thing with nutrition is I do embrace certain supplements just because we can't get everything we need from food. So the first one that I've added in is actually a magnesium supplement just because it's not really rich in a lot of foods. And in the foods that it is rich in, you would have to eat a ton of those foods to get enough magnesium. So I do take a magnesium supplement. I take magnesium malate and glycinate for nervous system function and for also improved sleep. And usually with supplements, like sometimes I don't notice a difference. And I've tried and experimented with many in my lifetime, but with magnesium, I've actually noticed a huge difference in just how sharp I feel and also how quickly I recover as well with my muscles. So it's been very interesting. Another supplement I do take is an omega-3 supplement. So I take it in the form of raw cod liver oil just because you get the most out of the omega-3 fatty acids in this. Again, I mean, there's so many on the market. So don't take all my word for this, but do your own research. I prefer cod liver oil because there's more omega-3 content in it. And I also get the benefit of added vitamin D in it as well. Cod is a big source of vitamin D. So, especially during the winter times in Florida, you'd be surprised. It does get kind of cold to 30, 40 degrees. So I am not outside as much. So I do cycle cod liver oil and vitamin D during this time. Do I take it year round? No. Some supplements you don't have to take every day, 365 days a year. So keep that in mind. Vitamin D and omega 3s are one that I just cycle every 6 weeks and then I take off and then I go back again. And then in the summer, obviously, I don't really need it because I'm outside all the time. But I've noticed a huge difference in, again, the omega 3s are really great for your joint health, your brain function as well, just feeling overall sharp. And then your vitamin D, amazing for your bone health and your immune system function. And I hardly get sick anymore, and it's incredible. And then the last supplement I take is a protein powder, but please keep in mind a protein shake is never a replacement for a meal. I use protein shakes in addition to my meals every day. So I'll have a protein shake pre and then post workout, and then I'll have my meal with my fats, carbohydrates, and protein source in the form of meat. So I just do it to get extra calories in, to speed up the recovery process right after a workout, especially if I can't make a meal right away within 30 minutes. So I do protein powders, and they're also great for when I'm coaching because sometimes I'm away from my kitchen for 3 to 4 hours and I just need something to get in my body. So I'll have protein shakes so that I can get some calories in throughout the day and then have my meals. So that's been really helpful. And I only use ATP Labs beef protein powder. It doesn't taste like beef, so it's actually really good. It's chocolate flavored, and it's the only one I recommend to my athletes and those of you listening to this podcast. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't have a discount code. I'm just passionate about the product. I'll link it below. It is from a Canadian supplement company, and their supplement laws are a lot stricter, which I like because you're not getting the additives and the metals and just sketchy ingredients in protein powders. It's more regulated. So keep that in mind. Okay, the last one. So number 3 on how I've become faster in my 30s than when I was a college soccer All-American is I have decided to chase both performance and health. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, especially in the female athlete space, achieving goals like becoming faster, some girls will sacrifice their health to get quicker. And the most common example I have seen and a lot of female athletes deal with is they feel like they have to lose weight or be a certain number on the scale in order to improve speed. And I'm here to tell you that is absolutely false. You do not have to sacrifice your health. You do not have to undereat. You do not have to have your thyroid tank, your hormones be out of control, bone density to become terrible. You don't have to miss your period. Like, you can have your performance and health. So just a couple of tips for this is during this whole time of training for this track meet, I have decided to not weigh myself. I have no clue how much I weigh. And I focus more on building muscle mass. And I know not everyone has access to this, but me and my husband did DEXA scans a couple months ago, and it measures your lean muscle mass, your fat mass, and then your fat-free mass. So, and then your bone mineral density. And bone mineral density is a very important health marker for female athletes to look at, especially through adolescence, just to make sure the bones are strong and growing properly. So I'll put my DEXA bone density results up here on the screen so you can see, but everything looked great. I was really happy about it. That means I am getting my nutrients. It means I am doing my strength training. That also helps with my bone density. So it also is a sign that you're eating enough, getting enough calories to nourish the bone. So I was very pleased with that. And then I was also really excited about how I was pretty much 100 pounds in muscle mass, which was incredible. I used to be a lot lower than that. And it was really cool for me to see, wow, I'm really getting a lot of benefit from strength training and also doing true speed training, because true speed training, when you run an all out sprint, that is considered a strength exercise. You are really working the hamstrings, the core, your upper body. I mean, everything. Again, it's the most extreme thing the body can do. So I was really excited to see my muscle mass go up. And again, I didn't look at my weight. I don't really care. It's irrelevant to me. I think it's really important for female athletes to look at body comp over the weight on the scale. There are a lot of places where you can get DEXA scans. They're popping up throughout the country and worldwide, where you can just go in. It's not that expensive, and they do a full scan of your body, and then you get your results then and there. So if you want to really get a peep inside your body composition, I do recommend that, and it's definitely becoming more accessible now, which is awesome. I think I went to a place called Body Scan, and I think it's a chain in the country. I don't think it's just Tampa. So Body Scan might be a good option. Another thing I did during this time was I kept track of my menstrual cycle health. And you guys, it's been crazy because I know exactly when it's coming. Like, it's so regular and so on point. It's like the exact same day every month. And that is a vital sign. And if you are a female athlete and you have a missing period, then that's a peep into a health issue or a nutrient deficiency or an underfueling issue, or maybe some other problems going on like polycystic ovarian syndrome. So you have to really make sure your menstrual cycle is very regular. So I kept track of that. Didn't really have to keep track of symptoms because I don't really experience any. So that was awesome. And another thing I looked at was my blood work. I hate getting my arm pricked, and I almost faint every time. And I have fainted before getting blood work done when I was in college. I just don't do well with the needles and seeing the the red blood come out. I just get so queasy. And this time I did almost faint, but thankfully I kept it together and she could get all of the vials. And man, I needed a lot of vials because I ordered a lot of different labs and I like to see exactly what's going on with everything. And we've talked about some of these labs on the podcast before, but here are some things I got and I'll show you my blood work on the screen. So full transparency, I feel really great about my blood work. And even my doctor was like, wow, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just dialed in. I'm just trying to be healthy and perform at a high level here. My doctor is really awesome. But I ended up getting vitamin D. I got B12 and folate. I also got my lipid panel. And with that, I'm more interested in triglycerides and my ratios. And then I ordered hormonal, so progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, just making sure I'm not too estrogen dominant, which could be a sign of polycystic ovarian syndrome, or I have too much testosterone. So just wanted to make sure those were within range. And then I also got a full thyroid panel. So don't just get TSH, but also get T3 and T4. And I was really happy with this one because I actually have genetics for hypothyroidism. It just runs in my family. And I was really happy to see my thyroid wasn't tanked because it has been in years past. And I finally reached a level where I'm in the middle of the range and I feel so much better. So I definitely recommend getting the full thyroid panel. And then I also got my C-reactive protein, which is just an inflammation marker. That looked good. And then I ended up getting histamine. I just wanted to make sure those levels were okay because last year we found hidden mold in our house from a slow water leak, and it wasn't visible. It was behind the walls, and I didn't know what was giving me these allergic reactions and these constant sinus congestion and fatigue and all these weird symptoms. And we finally found the problem, and this is a big problem in a lot of homes where it's hidden. It's behind the drywall, or it's behind the shower tile, or it's under the bathtub, and you just can't see it. And then you wonder why you're sick. So that was an issue I dealt with last year, and my histamines were out of control. I was having allergic reactions, but I got that measured again and it was a lot better. And I will also say my thyroid was very tanked last year when we were having this issue in our house. And I was really happy to see those go back up. So those are my labs. And I'm really happy that my internal health through my blood work, my bone mineral density, my muscle mass, and then also my menstrual cycle regularity. Those have been just great markers of health for me. But then just also the more subjective ones, just feeling overall better, having energy, feeling like my brain is on fire and I'm like just excited for the whole day. And I don't really run out of gas. I mean, I work until about 7:30 p.m. at night, Monday through Fridays. And then on the weekends, I'm still kind of working, like podcasting and doing other things, but I have the energy for it. And those are just some subjective markers that have been really amazing. And I've just noticed in this journey. And because I have my health, my speed performance has been insane. And again, I'm running at above an 18 mile per hour now, and that's Division One speed, and maybe not professional track athlete speed, but I'm really excited to continue this journey. I don't want to stop after this meet because I have seen what the right inputs to the body can do for speed and how much you can continue to improve if you stick with it. You have to keep showing up and you have to be in it for the long haul. I get so sad when sports parents or even athletes want to do a quick speed session or just a month of speed training. And I'm like, guys, you don't get it. Speed isn't a quick thing. Speed is a process. So buckle up, strap in, get ready because it's a rewarding process. You get rewarded by putting in the work and being consistent and doing it for many months and many years, and maybe into your 30s and maybe into your 40s and into your 50s. And one of my goals now, I'm so excited about speed. I love it so much. One of my goals now is I want to be in the above 50 masters track division And I want to be running faster at age 50. So watch me. I'm going to promise you guys, I'm going to do it because I just started doing this 6 months ago, like getting really serious about my speed again to prepare for this. And there are still so many things that I continue to see I need to improve, like accelerating out of the starter blocks. Still no clue how to do that. So I can definitely improve that. Working on my ground contact time, so my stride rate and my stride length, and really mastering those. I mean, the sky is the limit, and there's always something to get a little bit better with. So please commit to speed. And I really hope my story inspires you to train it for the long haul. And you know what's so crazy is I'm excited about doing this 60-meter event next month, but I've been more excited about the process of training. And I realized that this 60-meter event will be over in a flash. It will be over in less than 8 seconds. And then that's it. 6 months of training for that 8 seconds on one day. But the journey doesn't end there. And I'm going to continue to raise the ceiling on my speed and fall in love with the process of speed development. I hope this podcast helped. I hope it inspired you to stick with speed and to love it and to enjoy the process of training it. If you are open to doing a speed program, I would love to help you in your journey or even just provide some more advice, some deeper help if you need. And yeah, thank you guys for following along on this journey, and I will keep you updated. But it's so amazing to be at age 35 faster than I was in my 20s. And I always thought the moment you hit 35, oh, my joints are going to start to ache. Oh, my knee is going to start to give out. But I don't feel that at all. I really give it to my proper training and embracing recovery, fueling my body properly, and focusing on my health and performance at the same time. I didn't think at age 35 I would feel as energized as a teenager. So, yeah, it's just been incredible. So, I hope this inspires you. And for the parents listening, anyone can start training speed. Anyone can start to do meets across the country just for fun. You don't have to train for a marathon when you're older. You don't have to do what everyone else does. You can actually do sprint training. There are meets all across the country. So maybe it will inspire some of you adults listening to pick up sprinting. So, oh, thank you guys for listening. I am going to finish my protein shake. I got my upper body lift today. We're going to get after it. And then again, we're working till 7 p.m. So we're going to get this party started, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.